Hi everyone, I'm here with Melissa Burton, and she is a double threat. She is a registered dietitian and a yoga teacher. She helps people find peace in their relationship with food, bodies, and everything that's going on around them. Now, Melissa gave me a title for her session today that I loved, and it intrigued me a lot. As you can see, the title is Balance is BS. And I want to start off with Melissa. Tell us why? Why is it BS? Because all we hear about is balance, balance, life in balance.
Well, when you think about balance, you are on a fulcrum, right?
Yeah.
And it's difficult to stay even,
Yeah.
right? We talk about balance when it comes to eating. We talk about balance in yoga. We talk about work-life balance. You can't do it. Even in yoga, where balance is something that's important,
Yeah.
you only have it for a few minutes. So the idea of working your whole life to try to keep this balance, yes, you're working so hard, you're spending so much energy, where instead the idea of blend, I like to think about it like a smoothie. Sometimes
I
you
like
get
that.
the right amount of sweet and maybe the texture is good and it tastes really delicious, and sometimes it just sucks. So the idea is that you keep going. The idea of trying to find that one perfect place where everything is even is really, really futile. So that's my opinion about eating, yoga, life, and work. If you take it out of the equation, then you don't have to work so hard for something that's so difficult to achieve and maintain.
That's such an interesting perspective because it's a more healthful twist on the myth of having it all. And I think
I agree.
balance is the same as that myth.
I think balance is something that people strive for, and I think that when you don't reach it or you don't maintain it, it always puts you into a negative headspace. And the idea, especially as women, we're told, okay, you can have it all, or you can't have it all. Maybe your all is a different kind of reframing.
Right.
Maybe it's the idea of you find time for yourself, you find time for your kids, you find time for your job, and sometimes it doesn't feel great, but you adjust it.
Yeah.
That balance, just the word balance to me is so very limiting.
I've never heard that from anybody, from all the yoga teachers I know, all the health professionals I know. Nobody has ever put balance in these terms. And you make a lot of sense here. I mean, that balance is it sounds so perfect. It sounds so ideal. And our lives are not like that. Sometimes,
Yeah.
like in yoga, you got it, you got it, you got it. And then, oh, crap. And
Even
that's
the best
life.
yoga teachers, they don't stay balanced in a pose
No.
for an extended period of time. Yeah, maybe they do it for a few minutes. But if you are aiming your whole life to be in that spot for a few minutes, that's a lot of time and a lot of energy for a very, very, very small payoff.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
And when we talk about this both literally and figuratively here, balance it's not really something that is long term, as in a sustainable, healthy lifestyle.
Absolutely not. I am, even as a dietitian, I hate the word that there's die and diet in my title.
Yeah.
I truly believe that nobody needs a diet, that there is no perfect diet, that as long as you like food and it makes you feel good and you are not in rules, and that's the way it should be. I think that we put a lot of morality when it comes to food and exercise and our jobs and the way that we live our lives, in terms of things that have nothing to do with morality. Oh, I ate this food, so I'm good. Or I went to the gym today and I'm so good. Or no, I ate ice cream and that makes me bad. So there's always that play about things. And so when people are always trying to go towards balance, I hate that word.
Yeah.
I just do.
The morality that we put, everything is so, only for women though, not really for men. Everything is so values based, where it's like, oh, I was good today, so I can have a piece of cake. Or, girls, let's be bad. Let's order dessert. Or it's like, no, it's just food.
I think that's language that I don't ascribe to, and I do believe that there is some for men as well. I think it is a lot more public for women.
Yes,
I think
totally.
that it's part of the image and persona of women who are moving away from something or striving towards something, that there's always a struggle,
Yeah.
and that there's the perfection that people think that is so easy to be. And I don't think that's true. And the idea that if we listen to the words that we say in our heads and outwardly, you can see those words. They are so limiting, and it does allow you to think that if you think that way or speak that way, the balance is off.
Yeah.
And therefore, you're not as good, or you're not achieving as much as you should. Your potential is not being reached.
Constant battle for most women that we're always, especially those of us, we these days we're highly educated. We are, striving in our careers to reach certain goals. We still in the middle of all that, we have families, whether it's two cats and a husband for me or it's children. We have families, we have social life, we have volunteer work, we have everything going on. And balance feels more like spinning plates, like just trying to just keep it all going. Balls in the air, plates spinning, all those, mixing of metaphors here.
I agree. No, I totally agree. I think we are a fast paced society. You're supposed to do a million things at one time and do them well.
Mm-hmm.
Or, you are supposed to focus on one task and do that so well, and then complete it, and then move on to the next task without any sort of transition or issue.
Yes.
It's all supposed to be a smooth, well-oiled machine. You're supposed to meal prep. You're supposed to go to the gym. You're supposed to spend your time at work. You're supposed to take all your vacation.
Of course.
You're supposed to give your children Pinterest-worthy birthday parties.
Right.
It's a very difficult ideal to keep.
It
and
is.
I think it goes with health and with what you eat as well.
Absolutely. We're finding more and more, as you get older, as you get more experience, that it's like this big conglomeration of things you're supposed to be great at. And you feel like you've failed if you're not so-called balanced. You don't have a work-life balance, or you don't have, balance in your diet. And I'm really on board with hating that word now. It really, you're right. It's the same as essentially saying perfect.
Yeah, that's a word that I am so far from, and I think that
yeah, me too.
As a dietitian, there's a lot about when people come to talk to me about how they eat, and they want the best, the healthiest.
Yeah.
They want the most nutrients, and because they feel like, okay, I'm spending the money, or I'm spending the time, or I'm buying organic, that I should be getting everything, and therefore, or it's just the idea of, I want to get to a number on a scale, and that is going to make your life perfect. Or even in yoga, if you're adjusting so that your alignment is correct. Everybody can do yoga, but not everybody does yoga the same way.
I've never seen one person do it the same as another ever.
Nope, and I think it isn't just your body that's doing the yoga, it's the mind. And the idea is sometimes it's much more the mind and your breath than what it looks like. And I think that in a world we are so bombarded by images that you think it has to be a certain way. And if it's not that way, and it's not held for that long a period of time, then it's not okay. And I think that's where the idea of finding compassion for yourself and being able to live your life within your space. You can aspire to grow and expand, but you don't have to beat yourself up for not being this photoshopped ideal life.
That's what Photoshop's for.
Well, yes, and that is what Photoshop's for. And we're learning now that, but the thing is, even on Instagram, when you're looking at people's faces, sometimes they are filtering their faces until their nose disappears. Because they feel like they are not enough.
Right.
Because it's not like what they see.
I like how you've used yoga as a metaphor here, where not every body is the same. Also, not every day is the same. Sometimes you can connect with your body and mind and breath and all that. You are just jamming it out on your yoga mat, or you're just absolutely killing it at work. But other days we do the best we can, whether it's literally reaching for your toes and getting to the floor in yoga, or it's, trying to achieve everything on your to-do list. Or eating quote unquote healthy.
See, healthy to me, I think that is a word that carries a lot of negative weight. Healthy is much more than what you put in your mouth.
It is.
In my opinion. And yes, there are some foods that have more nutrients than others, but sometimes when you're in the mood for ice cream and you give yourself an apple, you are eating nutritious food. You're making a different choice, but you are not doing the healthiest thing for your mind and your body, because what you're telling yourself is, I don't deserve that.
Right.
And even though I want that, so I'm going to do this. So you're giving yourself something you don't want. And then you're making a judgment and a morality about what you're eating. And it creates a pattern where you put yourself in this negative place. I think the idea of giving ourselves permission, even when it comes to yoga, there are times that you want to go to a heavy duty sweat class, right? You want to move it out. And you walk in the door and you're like, oh no. Maybe it's the idea that yes, you're there. You want to be in child's pose the whole damn time?
And that's okay.
It's your money. It's your time, your place, your ability to connect with yourself. And sometimes being able to be in child's pose when everybody else is around you, huffing and puffing and hot vinyasing around you, that's the strongest thing that you can do. But people don't feel that way because they feel like if I'm not sweating and I'm not moving, or I'm not eating what is supposed to be the things that you're supposed to eat, that you're not good enough. Yeah. And to me, that makes me really sad.
Exactly. I mean, health is not one thing. It is a state of well-being. It's all your systems are working together well. You feel great. You look great as a result of that, because when you're healthy and you feel great, you look better. You smile more.
And sometimes health is not even not even about great. Sometimes it's the idea that you are aware enough to know that you're not great. Yes. And the idea is that you take a rest day, or you want to stay in, or that you're speaking up for something that doesn't make you feel good, or it's making a choice, or sitting in the idea of, I'm uncomfortable. Yeah. It's just the awareness that I am uncomfortable. I'm not going to run to do something to make myself instantly feel better. Right. I want to figure out, what is this? Just, I think the idea of self-awareness, and it doesn't always have to be, healthy doesn't always have to feel positive. I think the idea of being in touch with your negative and working through it or sitting through it, that to me also defines health.
That is such an interesting way to look at it. That's, you're right, because health is really, it's a lot of things, and it can be the ability to do a systems check and to see, I don't feel so great. And you're right, instead of rushing to change that, why don't you feel so great? Sit with it for a little bit. Think about it. Feel it. Yeah, I like that.
I think it's very difficult. And look, I am just like everybody else, that sometimes I wallow in it and stay there for a longer period of time than I should. But the idea is, so many of us are told that we're not allowed to feel that, and we shouldn't, because look at all this stuff, we're supposed to be here and there and doing all these things, and we're not allowed to be sad or uncomfortable or depressed or struggling.
Right.
It takes the shine off the apple, but that's humanity. The idea of accepting your humanity is, I think, very, very important when it comes to full spectrum health.
Absolutely. When you push aside a problem or an indicator or warning sign of a problem, you're going to end up much worse off. You think about how it's only now really starting to be acceptable to say, I have anxiety, or I'm suffering from depression, which could be chronic, it could be situational. When you're in touch with what are you feeling, you can figure out the why and the solution. But, or I have headaches all the time, or my stomach hurts a lot. It's fine. That self-awareness leads to the problem solving.
I agree. I think there are some chinks that are coming into the armor. I think that there are since we are such a media obsessed
Mm-hmm.
society, I mean, we're talking on online,
Right.
like that, there are more high profile people who are coming out and talking about the fact that their sunshiny Hollywood life is just that. It's a fart. I mean, it's a myth. It's a part. You don't know that person behind the role that they play.
Yes.
And when they actually are talking about it, I'm thinking most like Kristen Bell, who talks about the fact that she's been depressed, that her and her husband go to therapy. And I think that that's something that people can relate to. This is humanity. This is not just, oh, and she talks about the idea, I have people who do my makeup and my hair and stuff like that. That's why I look that good. We don't hear about all the chefs that people had and the personal trainers and things like that of that nature.
Right.
I think it's very hard because we have this very beautiful looking society of images that we see and think that if you don't have that, you're not enough.
Well, some of it is not real, first of all, and other parts are, like you mentioned, really hard work. When you are a celebrity or you are a pseudo celebrity like a reality star or that wife down the street who seems to have it all, there's a lot of work that goes on behind it. Some of that work is money, some of it is, hours, meal prepping, gym. A lot of us just don't have the resources or the time to do that.
Agreed. And nor should it be the ideal.
No.
I think that's the idea too, is that to redefine that somebody else's ideal is not yours. And that is okay.
That's great.
Yeah, it's, reality TV is not even real.
No,
right?
It's the least real thing ever.
It's this ideal of what people think that they want, or it's an aspirational, well, for some it's aspirational.
Yeah.
No thanks. But it's all not real. And it's hard to figure out or to feel that the life that you lead isn't something that you see. Yeah. It's being comfortable with where you are right this minute.
Right.
And even if you're not comfortable, where do you want to change it to? And how big is your goal? And I think that anybody can achieve whatever they want if they're willing to put the time and the energy and the effort into it. But if you are trying to reach something that doesn't even exist, that's hard.
Right. I mean, at least we all understand nowadays with, we regular people seem to look more put together and more celebrity when we have Instagram and all that, but we're also seeing more behind the scenes. We all know how to, face tune our pictures and put a filter on, and we have more awareness that it's not real. Yet that's not changing things.
But I don't think all of us do, and especially not the younger generation.
Yeah,
because that's what we're living with.
Yeah, they don't know yet.
They think that that's an ideal that they need to have all the time.
Yeah.
And to me, that's very scary. To me, I mean, yes, I think that even grown women who are having this idea, this push-pull of what should I be, and even, we're all aging. Whether you're 20 or you're 40 or you're 48 like me, we're all aging. And I think that it's also very difficult for women to be to come to terms with change in their bodies and their lives.
Well, we're getting better, but we still have those messages out there, not overt, but underlying messages that kind of after 30, unless you're a mom or fading into obscurity and okay with it, that you don't really matter. And that nothing pisses me off like that as a 36-year-old woman. But, it's pretty much like once you aren't hot anymore,
I get that, but
it's just moves.
Interesting.
Go ahead.
Your audio went out.
Oh, can you hear me?
Now you're back. You're back.
Okay, great.
It's interesting that you may not, that demographic may not matter in terms of putting all the effort towards advertising, but your disposable income matters.
Yeah, it does.
Your disposable income matters a lot. I think that there's, as somebody who was in marketing and advertising before I went back to school to become a dietitian, I understand that what you're trying to do, when advertisers are trying to hook you into a brand early, so you have brand loyalty. Yeah. So when you get older and have more disposable income, you're going to put it towards that.
Yeah.
So, you may not be the face, but your money is definitely important.
And it's hard as we age. men become more distinguished for the most part.
Yes.
So I'm about to go back to my college reunion, and some of them have not aged very well. But
Hmm.
our image of men aging is not really a bad thing. They're still good. They're still viable partners. But for women, we have this false impression that aging is a bad thing for us when really there's nothing wrong with it. It just is.
I agree. I think that, men are given a lot more leeway
Yeah.
than women. Yes. And it is unfortunate. And as somebody who is, closer to 50 than I am 30,
I understand.
which is really hard to say, it is difficult to grapple with the images and the messaging that's out there.
Yeah.
But instead, I am just trying to say that is the imaging and messaging,
Right.
and come up with it from inside.
Well, it's just another version of others deciding what an ideal is for us. It's the exact same as that. What is balance? What is perfection? What is healthy? And there's no one answer for all this, but it's hard when we have kind of the undercurrent socially of what the right answer is. So,
excuse me, my son just walked in.
See, that's real life.
Yeah, that is real life. Yes. Yes. I think there is always a redefinition.
Yeah.
But I think also the idea that we have so much media out there that's changing, sometimes in a positive and sometimes in a negative way.
Yeah.
That it is hard to know it's hard to let your own messaging come through and be and there's my dogs. And be what actually guides you.
Absolutely. So I'm thinking, this is a reframing for probably the majority of those listening. It is for me too, to hear that this idea of, balance, what healthy means, what we should be striving toward is not quite on point. So how do we reconcile that idea? How do we redefine healthy and what we should be striving for? What's your opinion on that?
My opinion on what healthy is really, it's very subjective, right?
Yeah.
So the idea of health is, to me, a lot more than what you put in your mouth.
Yeah.
And it's a lot more than exercise. There's sleep. There is stress level.
Yeah.
There is interaction with the world or your family. It's job satisfaction. It's the idea of also, excuse me, I'm moving around in my chair a bit. It's the idea of, I love that what you said, that self-inventory of what makes you happy. And I think that to me is a little bit more about what health truly is. It isn't what everybody else says. It's your own idea.
I like that. And the good news is we're in control of that. You're
yes, you're in control of it to some degree. I think it depends on how much you are influenced by the messages you receive.
True.
The idea that being aware that you are possibly being seduced by diet culture or fitness culture or wellness culture or any sort of body image culture, that takes a lot to understand that you have been seduced by it.
Right.
And all of us have to some degree or another, or we wouldn't be here having this discussion about women too. It's the idea of understanding that sometimes your body, your mind, your soul is smarter than what everybody else is telling you.
Yeah.
And all those messages. And it's hard for us, I think, to learn to trust ourselves because it seems that everybody else knows more.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you think about what is the absolute goal in our minds of what we want to be healthfully, it's interesting to hear what it actually is. I talked to some women in my audience, just asking them, when did you last feel your absolute best? When would you say, if you could take a time machine back to that time, when would that be? And before I started that research, I had figured they were going to say college Or, we hear this ridiculousness about your high school body. You were a child, so come on.
Mhm.
And almost all of them said something within the last few years. And these women are 28 to 44 that I had talked to in this group.
Excellent.
And three of them said my wedding day,
Okay.
and two of them said when I was pregnant. And it's interesting to hear
Very.
that, despite what we keep being told, your college body, your high school genes, that many of many of us are able to tap into when did I feel really great? What would I like to go back to? And I think that's encouraging that
It's
they're
more
having
definitely, it's not body defining. It's the
it.
idea that, I am really happy at,
Yeah.
the wedding. I am with somebody. I'm
Yeah.
starting my life with somebody that I love, and look at what's about to begin.
Yeah.
Rather than, oh, I'm here at my party in my beautiful dress. It could just be that I'm starting a new life. When you're pregnant, the idea that your body is this amazing thing,
Yeah.
that you're
It's crazy.
carrying a child. Pregnancy was definitely not something for me personally, saying that was my best time. I love my child. You just saw him run by. Pregnancy was not an easy time for me. And the idea, and I just want to make a very big point, because a lot of people think that there is that image of balance and being beautiful and loving pregnancy and being, happiness at new parenthood. My husband and I, we've been together for a long time before we had a child. But bringing up a little human that cannot communicate with you, that is a very, very difficult time for you as a parent, you as a mother, in all your body changes going on, as well as communication with the partner that you have. And if you are a single mom, whoa,
even harder.
Even harder, even harder. So there are I think we all have those times in our lives that we are all told that has to be some measure of ideal. Yeah. And the idea that if every person can go and find that place for themselves, that they can actually say, I felt good about the way I looked at the world, the way I felt in my body, not what my body looked like, or those, size 24 00 jeans, or when I weighed, 103 pounds or something like that. But the idea of, I ran that marathon that time, or, something like that. I left a job because I was unhappy.
Yeah.
And I realized that, I am more, my sanity, my happiness is worth more.
And
rather than
that's
all of
healthy. That moment is healthy. And there was some discrepancy in what they'd said when they felt their absolute best and when they thought they looked their best. A lot, we're talking about mature, grown women, smart women. And most of them said, well, right after college, because, my body looked great and I was too busy to really eat. And I thought, well, and they all said, I wouldn't want to go back to that time.
They would not want to go back to that time.
And, that's important for us to remember, because, I looked hot in college too, because I was 22. Duh.
And you also didn't have a lot of responsibility. Right. Some people in college did not have the responsibility. Right. I know my post-college years were, hey, I'm going out Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday, Saturday night, and I could be out for a number of hours, get up the next day, and be like, all right, let's go.
Exactly.
Now I drink 2 glasses of wine, and it takes me 2 days to get over it.
Me too. Yeah. I get heartburn halfway through a glass. And, it was interesting to hear these women at that point in their lives where they haven't gotten to where that image of themselves looking their best is out of their heads, but they understand that they don't want to go back to that they were stressed and freaking out because they were unemployed. They had all these reasons why they were skinny or looked better. And
knowledge evolution.
Oh God.
Knowledge evolution. We gain wisdom.
Yeah.
That's the one thing, you think you've heard the wise old women. Wisdom is something that's amazing, and it's good to embrace it because it really does allow you to grow.
Yes. And, this understanding of, for them, they're starting to reconcile what they would like to get back to realistically. And, in a different light than I want to be skinny. They all wanted to have more energy and they all just wanted to feel better. They wanted to be confident like they were on whatever day it was they named. And that is
For
health.
me, for me, that is health. But the thing is, to go back, we are never going to be
Oh,
what we were even yesterday. And
yeah.
we're certainly not going to be what we were when we're 16 or 20 or
Yeah.
30.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
the
sadly.
idea of going back to something, me personally, it's hard. And maybe there's I believe that there's a grieving time for that. When you get to
Yeah.
that point where you actually realize, look, I'm not going to go back. That's not going to be
Yeah.
me, but I can make the best version of myself.
Yeah.
And that does not mean starving yourself or
No.
cleansing or going to the gym 15
No.
times a week or killing it at work that you're there 6 days a week
Right.
and not taking vacation.
Right.
There's
Yes.
an evolution that comes with the idea of, okay, I'm not going back, but I'm here now. And what do I want my present and my future to look like?
How do we, I love that idea of you need to just live in reality, live in now. And
Mhm.
if you went back, you'd have to lose all those things you learned. You'd have to lose all of the progress you've made. How do we find a way to be compassionate toward that self who's alive now and not think about, Kelly in the past? How do we
I
love
really do
ourselves?
believe that there should be a mourning period. I mean, I think that it is very, very difficult for
Yeah.
you to know that you were something
Hmm.
and to have taken the idea that you have evolved. But that thing that you love so much or that you're attached to doesn't get to come with you, right?
Yes.
You don't get to take your face from when you were 25 with you, right?
Right.
But in some respects, it's better than the alternative because
Sure is.
you're here. And
Hmm.
I think that an actual mourning period and allowing yourself to get over
Yeah.
that feeling and learning not necessarily to accept. No, that doesn't mean that you've given up.
Right.
But to
You're not
understand
like mom jeans giving up.
exactly that was exactly what I was going to use. You're not giving up. You're not mom jeans. You're not like, oh, screw it, I'm just gonna eat whatever I want because I'm never gonna be that.
Right.
You have the ability right now to craft what you want.
Yeah.
It may not be everything that you want, but if you took the energy that you were spending being attached to what was in
Right.
the past and focusing on what it is right now and giving yourselves maybe a goal that you move
Yeah.
towards because time goes forward, it doesn't go backwards. Maybe
Yeah.
the only thing that you do get to take with you from the past
Yeah.
is the knowledge.
Yeah. And I
And
wouldn't give that up for my 20-year-old face.
yeah, well, I
Mm.
think that I do believe that there are some that would want to do that.
Hmm.
Look, and if that's something that you're attached to, we are a technologically advanced
Oh,
society.
yeah.
You can pay a plastic surgeon to look the way you want. If that is
Absolutely.
the most important thing to you,
Go for it.
we can go get our teeth fixed, we can get
Yeah.
our hair cut, we can do all of these things. But you know what? If you change everything on the
Mhm.
outside, but you haven't changed what's on the inside, nothing is going to make you light up. Nothing is
Right.
going to give you that mind and body and soul connection that you're so looking for from outside in.
Yes. You hear these really depressing stories about people who've lost a lot of weight, where they've put so much stock in what life is going to be like when they lose weight. It's going to be like all their problems are going to go away. Their bills will be paid. Everything's going to be better when they've lost weight. And then they get to that point and they're like, well, yeah, I feel better and, I look better, but my problems are still here.
Well, welcome
It's
to
depressing.
what diet culture
Yep.
has made $1 billion
Yep.
industry about. Look,
Exactly.
that's the psychology of diet culture.
Yeah.
Look, you should pay, if you pay for this, we're going to get you here and your life is going to be magically transformed. The idea that,
Silly.
people losing weight because they want to feel better in their bodies.
Hmm.
I'm all for that, but the idea of understanding that whenever you get to whatever number or whatever size
Hmm.
clothes that you want to wear, your brain doesn't shut off.
No.
The things that happen in your life don't change unless you are paying attention to it. And just that one little arrival
Right.
of some arbitrary goal that you've put,
Yeah.
without knowledge and without paying attention to all the things that have gotten you there,
Right.
it's a huge, huge, huge thing to come to terms with.
Absolutely.
And I agree. I think there's a lot. And for me personally, as a dietitian, when I was younger, I worked for Weight Watchers. I loved being part of Weight Watchers. And then as I was going to school to become a dietitian, I realized that it became more of a support group about, oh, I ate so well, or oh, I didn't eat so well, and oh, how did you lose weight? And it was the idea of talking about so many things, but not giving people enough knowledge and change and education. And the idea of, we're always told that emotions don't have to play a part in the way that we eat.
Oh, they are so connected.
Oh, and I think it's so important that it's not just a linear thing. We don't live linearly.
Yeah.
So I have a very, my definition of weight loss, I don't really, I understand the idea of trying to change your body so you feel better, but I also believe that there's a manipulation that sometimes your genes are never going to allow.
Yeah, absolutely.
And my thought, I also believe in health at every size, which is, you can be healthy without looking at somebody's weight or size.
Right.
You go to a doctor and your blood work comes back and tells you that you are healthy. It doesn't matter, because BMI is also BS.
Well, BMI, I mean, it doesn't take into account your body composition. A
not.
bodybuilder could have, an unhealthy BMI.
Absolutely.
That measurement doesn't help anything.
Well, and I think the idea that our healthcare system is based on that.
Yeah.
It's based on BMI, based on BMI, which was, originally developed for insurance purposes, like the 1950s.
Yeah, which, it served its purpose then, but we've learned more. If we're talking about weight loss, first of all, we're talking about fat loss, not weight loss. We're talking about body composition,
Well, I think the idea of, it's not, the thing is, you just don't lose fat.
Yeah, it doesn't just go
about what your body looks like. And I think the idea that many people don't care about the composition. They care about the image,
right?
Or they care about the number on a scale, or if they're going even further, they're looking at body fat composition, muscle composition. And
there are lots of ways to be healthy.
There are so many ways to be healthy. And I think that a lot of it, there's a lot more health that has to happen in your mind and in your heart and in your soul than what just your body says.
Well, that's why any medical weight loss center worth their price has a psychologist on staff. I mean, that's part of the whole situation. And I'd venture to say that it's the most important part if you've gotten to a state where you need to lose weight, like you are medically asked to lose weight, it's almost always a psychological thing that needs to be worked with.
I agree that psychology is a very big part of it.
Yeah.
I don't love the idea of medical weight loss centers. I think that if you find a dietitian or a therapist to be able to help you, if you have a medical condition, the idea of having a doctor involved and a nutrition expert, and I'm talking a registered dietitian, nutritionist, not a nutritionist, anybody. Anybody can call themselves a nutritionist at all. A registered dietitian nutritionist is somebody who is considered the expert. And there are there are dietitians that specialize in certain disease states, and they also are medical nutrition therapists. That's something that's entirely different. I don't love the idea of medical weight loss centers. I do know that if you are undergoing bariatric surgery, it is a requirement to have an evaluation with a psychologist. And I think that is very, very important to go through. But the idea of weight loss, I think that we have a very, very skewed version of what weight loss should be and needs to be and is.
Yeah, there's no one proper way to be healthy or to eat or to exercise. There's no one proper way to look. And we've made everything so hard. Just diet as part of an industry, as part of the health and wellness industry. I mean, it's just, we're making things so hard, and they're just not that hard.
I think, it's not, look, basic nutrition is not sexy. It isn't.
No,
we
it's
know,
not.
right? Water, fiber, fruits and vegetables, whole grains, lean proteins, making sure you're getting your calcium. But we have come to a place where even wellness has become a diet. We are orthorexia, the idea of eating clean and eating healthy, has become its own eating disorder. It's a socially acceptable form of eating disorder.
Right.
So, I'm, to that end, and I don't know when this will be airing, but in September, there's something that opened very recent that's going to be opening here in Los Angeles called Cheat Day Land.
Ugh.
And it is a pop-up museum that shows fitness people eating cheap foods in some, and it's appalling. But this is what, what we've come to, that we have to glorify the idea of giving yourself permission when you're interested in health and fitness to eat foods that are not considered quote unquote healthy.
Right.
And to me, that is just...
It's appalling.
It is. It's appalling.
And you're not going to earn a halo by eating clean foods. And what the heck does that even mean?
Health halos. Oh, yes, the health halos and the demonization of food. Yes. We could talk all day about that. That I could talk all day about. And the idea that cleanses, you need a cleanse. You don't. No, you don't. You have kidneys that work and a liver that works. You're good.
Yeah.
You don't need chronics. You don't need expensive cleanses. They may make you feel great. Yeah. They may make you feel like you're doing something better for your body than somebody else is.
Right.
No, you're spending a lot of money.
Yeah. Same detoxes, unless you are going into a rehab facility or you've ingested something that you need medical attention for. Your body detoxes itself.
Yes, it does, but nobody likes to hear that because it's, look, there are people making money from it, and look, those bottles of juice, they're so pretty. And look, I am a package whore. I am the marketer, but I am a package whore. I can be seduced by a great marketing ploy. And just looking at a great package, I literally have to say, okay, do you like the packaging? Right. Or do you like the selling? Or what? And, is it going to benefit me? And I worked in marketing, so I understand that. But still, I'm a consumer. We are all consumers. Yep. We are.
Yep. So if you were to give one final thought on something we can do today to start changing that mindset that, the health halo, or that there's good or bad, what is one thing we could do today to start changing that?
My thought is to be aware of the words that you use for yourself and for others when it comes to food, what you define as health, when you're sitting down to eat, when you're exercising, if you're body checking yourself, you're body checking other people, and there's humanity in it.
We do it.
Just to notice what kind of words and how they make you feel. Yeah. Because that to me is it's just opening awareness to determining whether you think you need to make a change. And usually it's the idea of you notice all the negativity that you give to yourself. And maybe it's the idea of learning to be a little bit, to change those words so you can be more compassionate and then be more open to change.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for being with us. That's
very welcome.
You've given a lot of food for thought with how to really reframe how we think about things. And I thank you for that.
Thank you very much. It's been fun. I could talk about this all day.
Me too.